Welcome to Missing the Point, in a very special edition of Check My Oil with myself, your host for this evening's shenanigans, DK Sizzle, Dave Clark, and I have two very special guests, and very special in the way that they're very special to me. They're not going to mean anything to you guys, but let me credential them real quick. On the one corner, I have a good friend of mine, Ben Peake, who, since we're going to be talking about mixed martial arts tonight, he has something of a background in that. He was a professional fighter in several different combat sports. Ben, would you say your biggest successes probably came in very Thai? Very Thai? I'm not a Spanish speaker, but it's very Thai, right?
It's Muay Thai. Yeah. No,
Much?
purely because of volume, I competed more in Muay Thai than I did anything else. So yeah.
Well, Ben knows what he's talking about when it comes to cage fighting, which is what we're going to be talking about tonight in regards to the UFC card coming up, UFC 285. And just to credential Matt a little bit, much like myself, he is a degenerate gambler. So we really have everything covered. He's a lawyer in real life too, which, you know, some people might put some stock in as far as articulating things and speaking on things intelligently. So now that you've been introduced to the MMA crew here on Check My Oil, I'm just gonna get right into it, guys. This is fucking stacked, this card. It's so exciting. I feel like it's like I'm always very complimentary of the UFC matchmaking. I really do think they do a good job of putting like good fights on all the time. But I have felt a little bit over the course of maybe the last 8 months to a year. I couldn't really pinpoint the exact amount of time that some of the depth has been a little bit lackluster. Like there's been really good main event fights and really good like a few good co-mains here and there. But what the UFC always, I thought, did better than like professional boxing or Bellator or anything else is like you could throw on an early prelim and there would be ramifications to the win or loss, depending on which side you're actually taking it from. And I think we're back to that on this card because we're going to skip over a few of the early prelim fights because I honestly would have had to Google a lot of those guys today, and I wouldn't really be speaking from a place of intelligence. Maybe you guys would, but we're fucking skipping it. And we're going to go right into the Ian Garry, Kenan Song. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. I think I got the song part right. We're going to go right into that Ian Garry fight. And I want to hear your guys' opinion on him because personally, like, obviously it's the second coming of Conor McGregor. Like, he's Irish. He's from Portmarnock, and he is somewhat cocky, and he's a stand-up fighter. But he's also like 6'3". I think he's very athletic. But he's put two back-to-back decision wins together. And like, you can kind of look at it from one of two ways, right? Like, he's getting the job done. He's 10-0. He hasn't lost a fight yet. When you watch him, he's super technical. He seems to know what he's doing. He's got some defensive holes, but he's, like I said, he's getting the job done. He might be a victim of his own myth a little bit, right? Because if you're the second coming of Conor McGregor and you don't just like knock out the first 5 guys that the UFC puts you against, you know, you're going to drown in that myth, right? In saying that, I do think the technical holes that I've seen from him are really glaring. Like some of the punches I've seen him take, I don't want to know how good his chin is yet. Do you know what I mean? And I feel like, Ben, I'll go to you first with this question. I feel like he's the kind of guy who maybe, because people were saying this about Conor, I think, early on too, like they saw holes in his game, like takedown defense and stuff, which eventually got found out. But I feel like a step up in competition, which I don't think this is for Ian Garry, as much as Song is a wily veteran, he's 4-2 in the UFC right now. Do you feel like a step up in competition is going to find this guy out? Or do you think they're managing him properly, they're grooming the next generation of like exciting UFC pay-per-view sellers, and they're just going to kind of feed him tin cans until he figures out that shit?
Well, I haven't been blasted by media about this guy, nor about his opponent. So I don't know if I would say that they are running him up too fast in any way. To your point, Kenan Song or Song Kenan, I'm sorry.
I don't know.
Both ways.
I don't know. There's no comma in the middle, so it's not bad. I don't know. Let's just call him Song.
Yeah. He seems like a talented guy. Again, haven't heard much of him. Right. So this doesn't seem like a huge step up in competition. It seems like a little bit more attention. And Gary seems like a talented guy. But he doesn't seem to have, in my opinion, the star power of somebody like Conor McGregor.
I think he thinks he does.
Well, and that's great. I think all professional athletes should have unwavering confidence in themselves.
Mm-hmm.
But his name isn't everywhere. In my opinion, doesn't have the style to back it up. He's a very talented guy, but he stands very, very straight up.
He does. It's scary.
Yeah.
My money doesn't want to go near him because of how he stands. It's very scary. His chin's like pointed up in the sky. It's real weird.
Yeah, body super, super rigid. Again, seems talented, but I saw him doing some work with Liam Harrison, who's a very, very talented Muay Thai fighter out of England, out of Leeds, I believe. And you can see the holes when he does pads, which is when you should be perfect.
Right.
I think it's.
You mean like what? Like he's dropping his hand when he's throwing a punch, or what?
Well, no, I think his head's too straight up. When you're working, even on the pads, you should be off the center line, moving off the center line, moving your head, throwing. He throws his body stays in the exact same spot, chin directly over his knee and toes, same spot, doesn't move. And he looks very fast. He seems to put.
He's accurate too. I feel like when he throws punches, they do land. He touches the target really well.
So far.
Yeah. Right. Because, I mean, that's the thing. That's what I mean. A step up in competition, and all of a sudden, he doesn't look like the same guy. That's been running through guys. Like you said, we've never really even heard of this, but we don't even know which order to pronounce this Song guy's name in. So it's like, he's a 4-2 UFC fighter. I'm sure he's very talented. I'm not trying to take anything away from him, but you put Ian Garry at this division, you put him against somebody in the top 10 right now. I'm betting against him every single time. So I do think that they should just keep feeding him like the Rancor. Just throwing. Don't throw him Luke Skywalker yet. Just keep dropping fucking extras down there until he gets big and meaty before he does that real fight. Matt, Ian Garry's minus 850. Song Kenan is plus 525 as of the time of recording. Is there value in an underdog bet here? Because that's a big punt. But I'm not even going to lean on a parlay on Ian Garry right now, to be honest with you, based on the shit that Ben's been saying. I mean, based on the shit that I've seen too. I'm not going to lean on a fucking parlay with this guy because he could tank your whole parlay on one of the biggest favorites of the night. We're going to go on to talk about Bo Nickel, who is the biggest favorite of the night, who I would definitely lean a fucking parlay on, no problem. But minus 850, how pissed would you be if he just got knocked out?
You'd be out of your mind. You'd have to be out of your mind to take that when we've only seen him in limited circumstances. I think me and you talked about it during his last fight where we saw him take shots, and it looked ugly when he did. Now, I think he's going to destroy this kid. I don't think there's going to be much of an issue here. The thing that makes me weary of him is that Dana White loves a foreign name. He loves an Irish guy that can come out there and flash and put him out and market him, and that hasn't happened here with Ian Garry, and there has to be a reason for it. So I do have him winning this fight handedly. I think he's going to smoke this kid, but I'm not going to touch it on a bet. It's just not worth it to risk against it. And at I have it at 475. You say he's plus 500, this Song Kenan.
Plus 525 when I looked at it, but maybe it's different at different sports books.
I think I'm just going to have fun watching an Irish guy. That's what I think I'm going to do. Because as being a friend with you, I'm an Irish sympathizer. Can't help it. Love it. I don't understand these comparisons to Conor McGregor other than that he's Irish, though. Because even though he is fast and versatile, he has none of
the guys, we don't all know each other. Jesus.
I don't know if that's true. I think there's but I see none of the flow or that control of the octagon that Conor had, even at a lower level, even at his beginning stages. I do like Ian Garry in this fight, and I do like him as a fighter. I just think the biggest tell here is he's still on the early prelim when people have known his name now for at least 3 fights.
Yeah. Yeah, God, man, that run, that early Conor run was so fucking great.
Oh,
the thing about it is like anytime somebody does like a comparison with him, or it's like, oh, the Conor does this, and I know it's like fun to hate on or whatever. Like, if you were there, like, and you were watching that run, you were having a good time. Like, the best was having a fucking good time. And like you said at the very start, and I'll round it out on this, Ben. It's like Ian Garry, you're not getting that same feeling. Like that same, like you're not getting swept up on that magic carpet that is like the very in your face, very brash, very divisive figure who it was original when it happened. You know, it was an original thing that the UFC had never really seen. Yeah, it was some of it was cribbed from, you know, boxers that we knew about or big flashy combat sports prize fighters over the years. But the way that he delivered it and the way that he did it was so unique. You got to kind of find your own thing, Ian Garry. You know, like I think his thing of like, I got into judo when I like started watching Conor McGregor fights when I was 10. And then I learned this and I learned this, and he's a really good athlete and all the rest. But I think the best he can hope for based on his skill set, to be honest, is to be on a Conor McGregor card. And I think that if he performs well, it's not about if he wins. Of course, I have him winning this fight. It's about what his level is. And I think he needs to win in style. Then I think he potentially needs to win one more time against someone who doesn't really matter who. And then maybe we see him on the main card for Chandler McGregor, which I think would make it exciting. And it would excite the traveling fans that are likely going to be there, because as much as there's probably 3 people left in Ireland that are sympathetic to Conor McGregor's cause, he seems to still be full of crowd. But we won't get into that. We don't.
It's just so in vogue to hate Conor now. We all loved him when he was doing this.
It's in vogue, and it's also informed by like a lot of things. This is I think is the main issue. Is it's like, it's just in vogue to hate Conor, except for, you know, the rape accusations. They play a part, I think, in some people's opinions of him. But he just gets so nostalgic from before he was like outing himself as a piece of shit all the time and just saying funny shit in press conferences. But anyway, whatever. We're moving on to the prelims. Julian Marquez and Marc-Andre Barriault, I think. Barriault? He's French Canadian. So I think this is going to be a great fight, to be honest with you. I think these are two kind of bums. I think Marquez has had like injury issues, but he starts hot. Marc-Andre Barriault likes to get knocked out early. If Julian Marquez wins, in my opinion, on this fight, it's because he wins in like the first round. He's one of those guys. He's going to start hot. He's going to come at him really hot. Mark, I'm just going to start calling him Mark because his name takes too fucking long to say. It's probably measured in kilometers because he's French Canadian. But I think what he's going to probably try and do is trap Julian up against the cage, try and gas him out, try and work him, try and grapple him. These guys are basically like copies of each other in body type. They're the same size. They've got basically the same reach, same height. They went pro at like the same time. They're like the same age. Neither of them are ever going to be UFC champions, but it's to kick the prelims off with, I think they're banking on just like a little bit of fireworks. Matt, it's a kind of a pick 'em. I think there's value in the plus 125 for Julian Marquez. I think I might even do a method of victory bet with like a first round KO, because I've seen this other dude get knocked out by really loopy fucking overhands in the research. So I just feel like, fuck it, right? Like just take a little money line punt on a plus 125. What do you think?
That's exactly what I thought, Dave. I did the same research. Because to be honest, I wasn't very familiar with either of them. I know me and you had bet on Marc-Andre before and watched him lose together, which is a lot of fun.
Oh, did we?
Yep, and that always puts a sour taste.
I hadn't put him on my shit list, so it must not have been that bad.
But I love a sleepy boy. I love watching a guy get slept in the first round, so I went the exact same way with Marquez. Plus, if we're going to go with it, it's America versus Canada. We're going America. Every time.
No, of course. Unless George St. Pierre is involved, I guess. Ben, do you know about either of these guys? Any assessment of either of their skill sets?
Yeah, they seem to be pretty middling fighters.
Yeah, they are. They definitely are.
To both of your points,
graveyards are littered with middling fighters.
Yeah, they've had some speckled success and loss in their past. I haven't heard. I think I've heard of one opponent from either of them.
It's the guy. It's that guy who's on this card, right? The tarantula knocked one of them out.
Yeah. The Canadian, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Marquez, I believe, beat Sam Alvey. Hard try to like.
There's a lot of things that have beaten Sam Alvey. I do like his TikTok though, to be honest with you.
Yeah. He's.
You know what's funny about Sam Alvey is this is gonna be so niche and like the listeners are just not gonna get this, but he reminds me a little bit of that kid Ed Mahan that we went to high school with. And it's like they call him Smiling Sam Alvey, right? Because he's like always in a good mood. But I actually just think that's how his fucking face is shaped. Because like every time I watch one of his
That
TikToks, I'm like,
smile.
no, I just think he like has to breathe through his mouth because he's a little stupid.
Nicest kid on the planet, closest
Yeah.
thing to the mask I've ever seen.
Yeah. You've got one of those. You've got one of those faces going on.
Yeah.
Like the ginger gene like seeped into the bone structure or something, right?
Yep.
I'll bleep his name out in the editing, but
It's in post. I think it's just a filler. I mean, unless you know either of these guys personally.
unless you're someone's brother.
For the rest of the card to move on.
Yeah, no, that's completely fair. I think it's like you don't want to put them on the early prelims because they have like some sort of a pedigree in the UFC. You don't want to like annoy them, but also it's like, well, they're kind of a known entity, so you can matchmake properly, put you guys together, and like something might happen. And if it doesn't, it's the first fight of the prelims. I think that they're also banking a little bit on the fact that viewership, if the business model of this particular UFC card seems to be viewership from the early prelims is going to be higher than ever, probably because of, I think, like, I do agree with you that it's not like you're not getting media blasted with Ian Garry, but I know the entire Irish MMA community will be tuning in to watch him at the end of the early prelims. So I think you're going to get a little rollover for the prelims. And I think that's the way they set this fight up is because it's like, all right, well, let's try and entertain them. Let's throw a couple of gladiators out there that we know draw blood, and we'll see what happens from there. Because you're not gonna, and this is a good little segue into our next fight, you're not gonna do that with the Amanda Ribas, Viviane Arroyo. Let's say Arroyo. This is gonna be one of those like two women punch each other a lot of times, and you're not 100% sure who won unless Ribas just decides to wrestle her, because I think that she has a little bit more of a skill set there. It's not the most exciting fight on the card, and I'm not just saying that because it's two ladies. I think that there's a lot of great female fighters out there. I think that the co-main event has a lot of interesting angles to it. I'm very excited. I love watching Valentina fight, and that's just me hedging my bets with the internet. But I'm just saying it's not going to be a fucking spectacular fight. I think it's going to be a decision. So if you're going to bet on either one of them, I would bet, and you're going to do a method of victory bet, I would go decision for whoever you think is going to win. It looked like a pick'em to me, Matt.
It was, yeah. I mean, it was a pick'em as well. Obviously, I love somebody that's made me money before, and Amanda Ribas in wins and losses has made me money.
I think she's going to win.
I do too. I think I love her for sleeping Van Zandt, putting Paige down for, what was it, her last fight?
Why do you hate Paige Van Zandt? Did she up the price of her OnlyFans?
Well, she finally joined OnlyFans from what I saw on Instagram.
From my research.
Yeah. From my research on today's fight, that's what I saw.
Matt's like $11.99. It's bullshit.
Ribas is a familiar name. She's earned that spot. She's lost the top spot before. From my research on Araujo or Vivian, I don't know how to say her last name. That's a hungry girl. That's a real hungry fighter right there. I'm going to go with my familiar name, the one that's made me money. I'm going to go with Ribas on this one.
Ben, who you got?
Yeah, I'm going with Ribas as well. To your point, I think it's a pick'em. I'm not sure if you got these odds right, -125 and -101. I don't know how.
That's what I got. Yeah, because essentially, it's like I think that's Vegas being like,
this is terrible.
And you're like, well, what are the odds? And Vegas is like, you're like, okay, thanks, Vegas.
Give it.
It's like they gave it to the intern to do these odds, I think. But no, those are correct.
Yeah. That's interesting. I think Araujo takes it if she's able to keep it on the feet. Probably a slower striking match to a decision. Ribas, I doubt she subs her. I doubt she knocks her out. I think we're looking at a long decision here.
Amazing. Maybe they'll kiss a little. Moving on to the next fight. Derek Brunson and Dracus du Plessis, I believe is how you say this name. This is an interesting one for me, to be honest. I have some things to say about both these guys, so bear with me for a second. Du Plessis beat Darren Till, which means next to fuck to me. I really wanted Darren Till to be good. I really he's a Liverpool guy, Scouser, big energy, came in, knocked out Cowboy Cerrone, looked like twice Cowboy Cerrone's size. I thought the way he cut to welterweight when he did it successfully was like very impressive, and he looked bigger than every welterweight, like by a lot. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. This guy's gonna come in and like do what Conor did essentially in 145 and just be like the biggest fucking 145er, right? I thought that's what Darren Till was gonna do. Darren Till turns out sucks. He just sucks. And I'm like mad that I still hear about him, and like that there's still like videos coming up of him being like, here's why I got cut from the UFC. It's like, you don't get to do that tour, dude. You sucked. You got murked by everybody. You were responsible for that fucking Jorge Masvidal hype train. You started that shit. You got knocked out by Tyron Woodley, who later got beat by a YouTuber. That's not a good look.
Well, Dave, I don't know if you saw it, but Darren Till asked to be released from the UFC.
Yeah, sure he did. Yeah, no, totally.
That's what it was. Dropped from the premier MMA fight clinic.
Yeah. No, he was like, I just need a break from this very successful and lucrative career that I've got going on. I'll be back in a few minutes. He looked his best that I've ever seen him look, Darren Till, against Du Plessis. And I think that's my first instinct is to say that's because he was like training with Hamzat, and he just like looked like he had been doing a lot harder rounds, and his training just looked better. His like stance looked better because he was like, we're talking about Ian Garry standing up straight. Darren Till looked like a 2-dimensional fucking Street Fighter character when he fought. When you look back on that, it's like he would throw a punch like, and that's great radio, Dave, but you throw a punch like this and you just be like, oh, somebody's getting fucking like knocked unconscious. It was bad. And he also had that same 1-2 punch combo. Like he never lost it. And it just drove me fucking insane every single time I watch it, because it's like everyone can just read this in the game tape now. Anyway, Du Plessis beats him. That doesn't mean a ton to me. He looks super athletic. He looks explosive. He looks durable. He did take some hits in that fight. It was a good scrap. But plus 185 for Derek Brunson, that's got some value to it, to be honest with you. He's a 10-year UFC vet. I know when he's lost, he's gotten fucking pieced up. Like Israel Adesanya was just like highlight reeling him, and like Jared Cannonier just like cleaned him out in the first round. But these are the guys that are the top of the UFC middleweight division. Like he's fighting top fucking guys all the time. Do I think he's at the top of the heap? No. But this Du Plessis guy has not fought a guy like Derek Brunson. This is definitely his highest level of competition, right, Ben? I feel like this is a test that I'm not willing to put money on Du Plessis to see if he passes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm there with you. I think both these guys are gatekeepers.
You think Du Plessis is a gatekeeper? Do we know enough about him yet?
Well, I
agree about Brunson for sure.
He's been on cards for a while. You know, I've heard Du Plessis' name for a while, mainly as an opponent. You're never like, oh, wow, he looked fantastic. He's the next guy. To your point, fought Darren Till, beat him, not impressively.
No. Is he South African, Du Plessis?
I'm not. Yeah, sure.
Because if he's South African and he's that white, you got to cheer against him because he's at least apartheid adjacent.
Yes. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like every white South African I've ever met, I'm like, what's your grandpa like? You know, you heard some shit at the dinner table, huh?
Not a great guy. Yeah. No. I'd have to imagine. But again, this isn't something that I'm super excited for. Derek, I think, will have the edge in grappling. I think this is kind of not really going to be a barn burner in any way. He'll probably grind his way to a decision win.
Yeah, that actually is exactly how I see this going. Matt, 185 plus 185 for Derek Brunson. There's value in that, right?
I don't think so.
No?
Controversy. I gotta go against the grain here. I think Du Plessis has won his last 6 fights. I think he beat Darren Till coming off of a training bout with Hamzat Chimaev, however you want to say his name. I hate that guy.
Hamzat.
Sure.
Hamzat. Come on, just get it right, dude. Just get it right. We've been nailing all the names today.
He's coming off of a training with Hamzat where they have their little bromance going on. He comes in, he loses to Du Plessis by submission. Anybody training with Hamzat for 6 months, and you're going to lose by submission in a fight? I think Du Plessis is going to put a bad period on Brunson's career. I think he's got 2 fights left on his contract, and that's going to probably be it for him.
If Brunson loses, he's not fighting, I don't think, because he was saying he was going to retire before Cannonier.
Right.
You're mulling that over. So.
He's only got 2 fights left on his contract, so I'm sure that would be the kick of it. I really just think Du Plessis is going to handle him. I think you hammer that. I think it's a no doubt win for Du Plessis.
You know, when you bet on a guy that's like not very urgent though, like he doesn't fight with like a lot of urgency, and like your money's on the line, so you're like, I would love for you to be just like trying a little harder. Like, would that be
right?
fine?
Like a little more effort while I'm
Like-
watching. And that
Like,
happens
I know
quite
he
a lot.
doesn't know. He doesn't know that I like, might have to ask for a loan if he doesn't fucking win this fight. It's like, I need to pay my mortgage, sir. And I get that that's my fault. Like, that's irresponsible that I bet the mortgage on it, but just try a little harder.
Right.
Is all I'm saying. He's a little lackadaisical.
But he's coming off of a 6-win streak here with 2 submissions, 3 knockouts, I'm sorry, 2 submissions, 2 knockouts, 2 decisions. So I'm all on Duplessis here. I think
You're right though,
last
but
2
he is a
fights-
fucking gatekeeper.
Absolutely,
It's
he's a
not like he's surging up the rankings.
No.
I think the sort of phony media attaché that Darren Till brings is why we're even really like aware of him in like sort of a media blast way. It's like, oh, he beat Darren Till. It's like, so did fucking everybody. So did everyone. The only guy that's lost to more different people that you've heard of than Darren Till is Cowboy, who he like beat to get recognition in the first place. So I don't know. I mean,
absolutely right.
everybody beats fucking Cowboy. That's just the way it is. All right. We're on to the saddest part of the card. We have a Cody Garbrandt. We have to talk about Cody Garbrandt, and I'll tell you why. He's the featured prelim, which is such a fall from grace from the champion of what I would call the stacked midget division. Like back then, when all those midgets were beating each other up at before the Braveheart execution style, it's like that was so great. TJ Dillashaw, Cody Garbrandt, fucking Dominic Cruz, Uriah Faber was still knocking around. There was a ton of drama and through lines and this guy said this about him and Conor called him fucking snake in the grass on The Ultimate Fighter and all this different shit, right? So all the drama was there. It was like an episode of The Real World. And I begrudgingly liked Cody Garbrandt because I've never liked Dominic Cruz. I think he's one of the worst commentators that I've ever had the misfortune of listening to. Like, that fucking monotone just absolutely kills me, to be 100% honest with you. I think that his like sort of in general attitude of like, I'm fucking better than everybody else is like, I guess somewhat well earned. Like, he was very good when he was good. But man, Cody Garbrandt made him look average, like made him look awkward, made him look slow. That was one of the best boxing performances I've ever witnessed in a UFC championship situation. Like, he was so fast, he was so slick. And then it turns out he just had the one thing that you really can't have when you're a professional fighter, and that's a bad chin. Because once that chin got tapped once by TJ Dillashaw, who is gotta be still keeping Cody Garbrandt up at night, right? Like, steroids, whatever. You can say that on fucking all you want. TJ Dillashaw has got to be the villain in that man's life forever. Like, you can never forget that. Like, how do you lose to him twice with all that lead up and all that drama?
As unlikable as Dominic Cruz is, there is not a soul on earth that likes. I forgot his name already.
TJ Dillashaw.
TJ Dillashaw.
Yeah,
man,
no, there is
that
not.
guy is so unlikable.
He really is.
Yeah, and just in your face cheat.
Yeah, the cheating thing, like, I already hated him so much that like it didn't really bother me once he like got caught cheating. I was like, that's fine. I already fucking hated him. Like, good.
Right,
but like,
exactly.
it wasn't gonna make me like hate him more or less. Like, he had already ruined that division, and then to have the audacity to lose to nobody except for Henry Cejudo, who is the most insufferable motherfucker that you'll ever come across.
Most
right?
overrated fighter in the history.
Yeah, and then it's like he's not even retired, or is he retired? I hate that guy too.
He's drunk at every event. He's starting fights backstage with heavyweights.
It's so he's just very annoying. So
We have to be amused with the fact though that Cody Garbrandt gave us the greatest thing that we saw during the COVID lockdown, which was that knockout at the buzzer. And then
when he like
also
reached down to the ground and then like knocked that guy out. That was
ducking swing, and then
How are you
also
gonna get knocked out by that though?
Unbelievable.
How are you gonna get knocked out by that?
But now we also know that when Cody goes to his doctor, the reason that he needs Viagra is TJ Dillashaw.
Oh yeah, no.
He's taking his manhood.
Oh, he did. He took his manhood. You're 100% correct. Like that thing at the end where like I felt so bad for him, honestly. Like when Cody gets knocked out and then he gets up and he clearly has no idea what's going on, and TJ's like yelling in his face. He's like, "What's up?" And Cody's like, trying to kind of stand up for himself, but he's like, you can tell he just has no idea where he is. And it's just like, it would have hurt TJ less to lose to Cody than it hurt Cody to lose to TJ. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
why I wanted that to happen.
Without a doubt. You're absolutely right.
There was all that build up from the sparring footage as well.
Right. Because Cody because they were saying that Dillashaw sparred like an asshole was their opinion. But Ben, explain this to me actually, because I want some inside baseball on this, because for me, I thought that there was such a thing as the kind of hard rounds that simulate an actual fight. Is that what they're saying that Dillashaw would do? Or was it like that you're supposed to be sparring light and he's being a dick about it? Is that, or are you just not supposed to ever really go 100%?
No, so 100%, I don't think there's a place for it. There is always a place for hard rounds during camp. And you get those maybe twice a week, because you don't want to beat yourself up too
twice a week in like the 6 to 8 weeks leading up to the fight.
Yeah. Then you simulate the actual stress of a fight. But the majority of the time you're working on technique, and you don't want to be hurting your sparring partners. And that is really what you heard a lot about Dillashaw, that he was beating people up to hurt him in the gym. Which, what an asshole.
Well, in all fairness, Trend will do that to you, when you're doing your full cycle.
Yeah, that's fair. I don't know if it definitely wasn't Trend. It was probably
what's Trend? That sounds like a Star Trek plan.
Trend's probably the more intense version of anabolic that you can take. I think he got actually popped for the same thing that John Jones got popped for, which was there was a estrogen inhibitor found in his urine.
No. Dillashaw definitely got popped for like, we know you put a needle in your ass. Like his like was way more extreme than John Jones's, because John Jones, it was like, you're right. It was like a hormone estrogen blocker situation where they're like, your levels, this is weird. And then they've changed the levels since. So he's obviously completely exonerated according to him. So I think Dillashaw, it was like, we found this steroid in your piss or blood. I think was like, that's why he went away for like a while, like a couple of years. And then his comeback was fucking pathetic, which was great. Honestly, I'm sure Cody Garbrandt at least got some salve for that. But unfortunately, the reality of the situation is those losses, and then the other losses on the trot that like, I think came from the fact that Cody was a confidence fighter. Like I think he was like, when he was on that heater, nobody in the world was beating him until they did. Now I think he comes in a little bit, his head never looks quite right. Like he never looks like super confident. And honestly, if you're getting your lights put out that fucking easily, like Ben, you always say you never got knocked out. There has to be some mental change once you get knocked out. There has to be. There's no way you can go in and be the same guy, for better or for worse, right?
Yeah, because now you don't have that confidence to be able to continue to move forward, which was
take risks.
Especially with a guy like Garbrandt. When you talk about his fight with Cruz, who was honestly before he opened his mouth was a hero to me when he was in the WEC and the UFC. That was during my MMA time. I loved watching that guy. He was at a lighter weight. Loved watching him move, and he could suck everybody into his game. He could get you to bite on his feints, which he was a master. When he fought Garbrandt had that unwavering confidence in himself, walked right through it, knew that the movement was really going to be 90% feints, and just struck with it until he put him down. Now you don't have that confidence to be able to stand in the pocket and throw, which I'm not really sure where to go here, because Garbrandt maybe still tells himself that's what he's supposed to do.
That's the crazy part, is that he's got this really, really amazing skill set for the division. Like, he can wrestle, he can grapple, he can chain wrestle, he can stop you from taking him down. He is a really good boxer. There was a point, I think probably the 5 minutes after that Dominic Cruz fight, I think he's the best boxer in the UFC in that moment, right? Like he hits that peak at one point, right? I think, like, just based off contextual performances, I think when Max Holloway was yelling, "I'm the best boxer in the UFC," while not looking at his opponent and slipping those, he was the best boxer in the UFC. But then he goes and gets fucking demolished by how fast Alexander Volkanovski is, who I've gained a lot of begrudging respect for in subsequent times since that Max Holloway fight. Max is a fan favorite, obviously. You look at Garbrandt doing that, and you're like, you never do the right thing when you go in there. And I think that has a lot to do with that fucking team, like team alpha male. I cannot put, if I find out that I accidentally bet on a team alpha male guy, I'm so upset because their record is so bad. Like, it's always, I see like little Uriah Faber, like fucking just goblining up to the fucking side of the cage. And I'm like, oh, fuck me. Really? They're alpha male guys? First of all, they should have reconsidered that name when they were making that gym. First off, that's not great. Secondly, they all do the same thing. They all drop their fucking hand and get knocked out the same way. It's not just Cody. That Cody Garbrandt knockout happens to all of them. It's like, why? Because who's a good striker there? It started by Uriah Faber. Their best fighters, TJ Dillashaw. All right. He leaves, gets better at striking when he leaves, right? Am I wrong? Fucking Chad Mendez, the fucking most widely known wrestler in the featherweight division, right? All this, it's hubris. They don't bring somebody in who's really good striking. He was wasted at that gym, man. If he had gone somewhere like, I don't know. Imagine Cody Garbrandt just 4 years ago goes like, fuck it, shaves his head and goes to like shoot box in Brazil. Like, Cody Garbrandt, you're not beating him in that division right now if he makes that choice, right? I genuinely believe that about his talent.
I think you're absolutely right. Or imagine he goes to Thailand and really does the training, the hard training, rather than riding
not
his
in
bicycle.
Sacramento, Cody.
No.
What are you doing?
All he wants to do is ride his bicycle and get knocked out. And you know what? It's because of that. Even though I think
actually shootbox would be the worst place for him because
let's not put him at shootbox. I did see
Cody Garbrandt dead.
I think it would teach him something.
There was some tape of Cody going to Thailand and putting in the work. But he was at Tiger Muay Thai, which is if you're familiar with it, it's kind of like the I don't know, the TikTok Muay Thai of
oh, gotcha. Okay.
It's like everybody goes there. It's huge.
Yeah, that's not what I want for him.
And he looked terrible when he was.
That's where Kamzat is now.
Yeah.
Whenever you say his name, it sounds like I should bleep it out. Like, it sounds, you say it in a sexual way.
Do I say it like that?
You say it like cum slut.
Or I say like cum shot or something like that. Yeah.
I think if it sounds like you're calling him cum slut, that's what
I don't like.
What it sounds like.
I don't like the Abe Lincoln. I don't like his attitude. But I think the UFC is giving him Trevin Jones here as a chance to come back, like a real comeback.
What if he loses, guys? What if he loses to Trevin Jones?
You know what? And have him losing to Trevin Jones.
Oh my God.
I think it's over. I think I don't think he'll come back from this. The yips are real. You hear footsteps. He's going to be too defensive. He's going to fuck this up. I just know he is. I have Trevin Jones taking this.
Ben?
I'm with you there. I think
God.
I don't know if this is a loser leaves town match, but both of them have.
Oh, they both need it. They both need it.
Yeah.
Both need
this would be Trevin's fourth loss, I believe, and this would be Cody's third. So they're giving somebody who's looking terrible one of the worst.
They should throw one knife in the middle.
Yeah,
just one knife between the two of them, and it's like, let's just see what happens. This is honest. They're fucked up the way they made this.
It's a classic White move.
Oh, they're so dead. It's two desperate guys. They're fighting for their lives in there. And honestly, it's a perfect featured prelim. Like, I love the UFC for this. The thing is like, it is human cockfighting in the best possible way. I agree with John McCain on that one. Wasn't it John McCain, right? Okay, cool.
I think so. Yeah.
God, it's. I don't mean to sound like I'm like dancing in his blood right now, but like, fuck, it is funny that we can all see at the same time this like very sad downfall. Like, just like some of the moments that he's gone through. And then I saw him at a press conference today. And he was like, "Oh yeah, I cut the weight to go like to the lower thing, and my head was right. My life was in shambles." He said, "My life was in shambles." He said that sentence. I'm not paraphrasing. He was like, "Last when I cut the weight, my home life was in shambles." I think is what he said. I was like, dude, Cody, I need him to win because I think we need to like watch him if he loses. We need to like, keep our eye on.
I do miss the Cody who had the belt on. We're
never seeing that again.
Remember he had this super fan kid that was coming to the ring with him. God, we had such a talent.
That kid won't even talk to him anymore. He's ashamed of it.
It's yeah, that kid's inboxing Bo Nickel now. He knows what he's doing. It's over.
That kid's like, "You're not my father." TJ Dillashaw's my father now. TJ Dillashaw's like, "Stop following me home, kid."
Yeah.
Oh my God. Fuck. I did enjoy that segment. All right, we're finally here. Bo Nickel. Matt's rolling his eyes. I think this guy's going to be a champion in no time flat. I
Yeah.
think let me just give you his credentials really quick. I mean, obviously everyone's talking about Bo Nickel. There's nothing
Penn
to say here.
State.
Yeah, Penn State, which is probably the best freestyle wrestling program in the world. He's a 4-time All-American, 4-time team national champion, 3-time individual national champion, and a Dan Hogan Award winner, which I had to look up, which essentially just means you're the best wrestler on earth. Is that Hulk? No, his name's Terry. It would be cool if it was the Hulk Hogan Award. That I would take seriously, but in the wrestling category. But essentially, this guy is a freestyle wrestler. And Matt, you're rolling your eyes, but I want this guy to be the kind of wrestler that's dominating in the UFC, because freestyle wrestling is a ton of fun to watch when done well. When done as efficiently as Bo Nickel has used in MMA, going through those Dana White Contender Series guys, to be used to make your opponent scared that you're going to shoot, so they freeze and then they get knocked out. That's like a big thing the freestyle wrestlers do a lot. Or you get taken down and he immediately advances position. He's always trying to advance position, get to your back, get to your back, get to your back, ground and pound, all that stuff. The combat Sambo guys, and I'm a little biased here. I get that. But those combat Sambo guys, it's like, oh my God, with the single leg, and they just drag you down. It's like, the Family Guy cutaway where they're like, oh my God, you're worse than Buzz Killington. And they cut to Buzz. It's like every time I see a guy with a beard and no mustache and like a bald head, and it's like hailing from Dagestan, I'm like, oh, I do the Peter Griffin, like, oh, Buzz Killington's here. This is going to be no fun. And like, I get it. Like, I get everybody in the MMA comment sections being like, you just don't understand the sport. These are elite at this level. I'm like, I agree. They are really good at what they do. I'm done betting against them. I'm done like denying the fact that their skulls are made of different stuff. Like, I get it. It's a fucking snooze fest. It's like, you can sit there and tell me that the work of fucking, Jean-Luc Godard is the greatest cinema in history. And I understand from a technical perspective why you're saying that, but I would rather watch Lethal Weapon. I just would. It's just more fun.
That's exactly why I'm rolling my eyes, Dave.
Bo Nickel's fun to watch.
Bo Nickel's fun to watch. Why are we watching him fight Jamie Pickett? Why are we doing this?
He has a 3-0 fucking MMA record.
Yeah, but we know what
numbers a bit.
See, as much as we can credit Dana White and the matchmaking that they do, it's stuff like this that annoys me, because they are slow rolling their talent.
No, they're going to make him look great on a John Jones card. He's going to look fantastic.
Exactly, and that's annoying. I want to watch him fight Hamza. I don't want to watch him fight Jimmy Pickett.
They got to fight. They have to fight.
So I don't watch bare knuckle UFC or bare knuckle FC because I think it's sad. This is going to be sad. It's going to be sad.
I think the bare knuckle FC needs to lean into it and do it in a backyard. Like, that's their problem. Is they don't understand their own brand. They just don't understand their own brand. Just
like
do it
a real dive bar in Pennsylvania somewhere, Pennsylvania, where it's real dirty on the ground. You know exactly what you're looking at.
Yeah.
Chad Mendez is on 3 different steroids. That's
You're watching it. You're like, hey, I think I know that girl in the crowd.
Bo Nickel is going to knock this kid out while taking a single leg. It's going to be the dumbest thing we've ever seen. I want to watch him fight real talent.
All right, Ben, talk some sense into this, man, please. Bo Nickel's a lot of fun, and he's super skilled.
Bo Nickel's a lot of fun. One of the most talented grapplers that we've ever seen in the UFC.
He could be fighting for the title right now.
No. So that's where I'm going to push back, and I'm going to push back on Matt's point. So Bo Nickel, super exciting, very talented grappler. I saw him against Gordon Ryan in a submission only.
Who's like the greatest jiu-jitsu guy ever, right?
Yes, currently best in the world. And Bo Nickel is going to come in. This is a gimme for Bo.
Yeah, of course.
But this is what we need to see first. I remember when an old jiu-jitsu coach of mine was fighting MMA, who we all hate. And he was
say his name.
but he only had a couple fights, and he was getting some flack for fighting low down the rankings because he was a black belt, because he had some experience in the big show. You need to give these guys time to build. Is it Jamie's fault that he's fighting Bo Nickel? Kind of, yeah. Be better.
You got me there. The way you asked the question was very different than how you answered the question. Kind of a little. It sounded like you rethought it halfway through.
Like, don't be bad if you don't want to be an opponent.
Yeah.
You're brought in as a stepping stone. Put on a show. Let's see if you can knock him out. You've got a puncher's chance.
Yeah.
But Bo's going to steamroll this guy. That's
what you think there's a lot of evolution from where he is now to where they need him to be to where, because I feel like he's kind of ready-made is my point. Like, I'm not sure there's a ton of stuff he's gonna bother to add to his game.
I agree.
From his perspective.
He reminds me of Rashad Evans, a national champion, just ready to go.
I think the thing that he's going to be missing the most, he's got all this skill,
and athleticism.
Yeah, freak athlete, very, very skilled. Is he able to put up the same show, the same fight in the big show under the lights? So this is where you see a lot of guys.
He's a proven winner.
He's a proven
winner.
He's got 3 fights.
He's a proven competitor, though. Like, I mean, he's competed at I bet if you ask him what's more prestigious if at the end of his career when he's 50,
of course he's gonna
say that his wrestling medals are the thing that he did. This is retirement for him.
Right.
And this is his Boca Raton years.
To that point, Dave, he would have a gold medal in wrestling were it not for the coach's selection committee. He was supposed to be a gold medalist. I do think Ben has a point, though. Even though I said what I said, I think that everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth, and nobody's really been able to punch Bo in the mouth yet. I don't think
it's not going to be Jamie Pickett.
It's not going to be Jamie Pickett, but somebody is going to punch him in the mouth.
The worst part of the fact that they're throwing him like a carcass to this guy is that his biggest problem is he fucking starts slow. Like, the guy that's going to beat Bo Nickel, if this guy exists, if it's Hamzat or whatever, every time you said Rashad Evans, right? Every time you've seen a freestyle wrestler this good, like that level up comes in, the guy that beats him is the guy that can also wrestle, right? So they cancel each other out, and then it's like, okay, who wins like the fist fight? That's not Jamie.
It will be a rampage.
Yeah, Jamie Pickett's gonna get fucking mauled because what you need to do is you need to start punching him in the head right away. When the bell rings, you need to start punching this dude in the head and stuffing his takedowns if you can. And
so
that's not Jamie Pickett.
I think talking about the odds in this fight doesn't make sense, but I wanted to ask Ben. Picking how he finishes this fight is going to be very important. Obviously, being a freestyle wrestler with Greco-Roman background, what do you think he does here? Do you think he tries to show everyone that he can stand up and bang? Do you think he tries to take it to the ground and submit him? Or do you think he goes for that ground and pound measure, which is what we're all thinking he's going
to? I think most likely he takes him down, pounds him out, gets the TKO. If he was smart, I think he would get it over quickly. But, it's on him right now to put on the show, to become what everybody wants him to be the exciting fighter, this unbeatable guy. Come out here, hit him with any weapon that you have, take him down, beat him up. Is that smart in your first couple fights? No. I think he needs to start facing some stiffer competition. And when you talk about him versus Hamzat, you think about Hamzat's fight versus who was the Brazilian guy that he just fought?
I thought he just fought Kevin Holland.
He just fought Kevin Holland, which that was embarrassing.
Oh well, come on. The guy that man, this is
right before that. Right before that.
That's fine. I'll just Google it. Hold on. I'll cut this part out.
But nobody, if you fight somebody who's not worried about your takedowns, a Brazilian jiu-jitsu black belt, very, very tough off their back, but can stand and bang.
Gilbert Burns. Gilbert Burns, absolutely fantastic. World champion. That was a great fight. That was a fucking great fight. I actually gave it to Burns too.
Me too.
To be honest.
Me too.
We need to see Bo against somebody like that.
Yeah, you're right. Because like Gilbert Burns went in and he was like, I'm just the toughest man that's ever stood across from you. And like, I'm also super skilled and I'm gonna get some stuff from you in this fight and you need to like still win. And I think so, but you guys are essentially saying the same thing. You're saying we know that this is a foregone conclusion. It's almost a waste to waste this great spot on a John Jones card. Why is he on a John Jones card though? Because you're looking at Bo Nickel as a freak fucking athlete that's coming in. You're like, this is the next generation of fighters card that we're putting on this big John Jones card, where there's so much grooming going on here.
You said it earlier. This is a fight card that draws not just the MMA community, but everyone that wants to watch a fight.
That's true.
What people will hear the name Bo Nickel and know it, and what they're going to see is a dominant performance, and that makes the UFC more popular.
Yeah. No, I mean, I know why they're doing it. I think you guys as like sort of purists are saying like, I mean, we wouldn't be sitting around dedicating our time to recording a podcast about mixed martial arts if you weren't, right? But I think what you're saying is valid. But from the UFC's perspective and from a fight building perspective, I think it's like pretty valid that they're going to just like let everybody know who this guy is, right? Just let all those motherfucking fringe people that like don't know who Bo Nickel is know who he is, right? We all know who he is, but that might not necessarily be true of everybody. So, I mean, I think it's fair enough. Yeah, right. He's definitely going to run through Jamie Pickett. And just quickly, as far as the betting thing goes, you alluded to it earlier, Matt. Method of victory and round, those are easy calls. I didn't look up the odds on what you're getting on those, but they're not going to be great. I would put him on a parlay. Just try to stack your odds a little bit. Whatever parlay you have going on, you're not going to get great numbers, but if you want to just say finishes in the first round, like method of victory, TKO or submission, ground, like strikes, whatever. I would put that in a parlay because I don't think you're going to get great value off it.
I have him just for the list. I have him first round TKO for the ground and pound minus 220, which is insane.
It's not terrible, especially on a parlay. Ben, what would you say method of victory if you had to guess?
Wait, didn't we just do this?
Yeah, but I'm saying if you're putting money on it now at this point, or what are you saying? You're saying in submission?
I think he TKOs him.
All right. I like that. There's value. There's value in that.
He wants to show a little bit of power and that he can be brutal. Submission. I think
he could feint without doing anything else, feint a takedown, and this dude is going to react because his reputation is going to precede him. And then he could just punch the dude in the fucking face. He literally did that in the Contender Series. He just feinted a takedown. The guy bit huge on the takedown, and he just cracked him, and then like went to the ground and just finished him off. And it was like, oh, okay. So I guess he doesn't have to establish takedowns. Like
he might have the hardest punch while holding somebody's ankle I've ever seen.
All those wrestling guys have that overhand, though. They all have that overhand. Ben's right in the sense that like he's gonna need more than that. Remember when I know I keep referencing Conor, but like this is a card built of guys that they want to be stars, right? Like this is like that's what this card is. So he does keep coming up. But you remember when Conor was like about to fight Chad and he was like, "You're a fucking wrestler with an overhand. I fucking beat the shit out of guys like you all the time." And it was like there was like a collective light bulb clicked across the whole UFC. It was like, oh, maybe those guys aren't that scary. And then they all just started getting their asses kicked. Like it was just the myth was busted. The bubble was burst. I do think that I thought that was going to happen at Khabib. You know, I thought that he was going to meet the guy that was going to cancel out his wrestling.
We thought it did.
Yeah. Well, how'd that go? But it didn't. So, you know, whatever. And do I stay up at night thinking about it? No.
I do.
I love this next fight. I genuinely do. Jalen Turner versus Mateusz Gamrot. I'll say very quickly, Mateusz Gamrot's probably the most well-rounded fighter that we've talked about so far. He's like a 7 or 8 out of 10 at everything. He's probably gonna win. I love Jalen Turner. He's so much fucking fun. He's the exact kind of fighter I like. He's got really good takedown defense, so he matches up really well against Gamrot. He's plus 25. I think there's a lot of value in a Jalen Turner win. Anybody want to talk me out of it?
No, I'm with you. 100%. Yeah. Turner is 77% takedown defense. 77%.
That's really good.
Love. He's 6'3", and he's 6'3", going against a 5'10" fighter. He's a boxer. He throws beautiful hands. I am all on Jalen Turner here.
Yeah.
100%.
Freakish power too. This is a great fight for Jalen Turner to prove that he's got more than just the striking, and he can keep up with the takedown defense of a very well-rounded guy.
Yeah.
But man, so exciting to watch the tarantula. Big, freaky,
he's great,
angly guy, and freakish power. I like seeing that in the wiry guys.
Yeah. Confidence exudes a confidence that only a man made of that much matter can like really exude, you know, like I really like his whole swag. Yeah. Great nickname, like you said. And I think you're going to know how this fight's going to go in the first 30 seconds. I think that Gamrot's going to shoot. I think that if he doesn't ragdoll Jalen Turner right away, if Jalen Turner if we see that like, oh no, he's a tall guy thing happen, you know, that thing where it's like, oh no, he's too tall. And then they just go flying through the fucking air because their limbs are just easier to grab. Like there's just more leg to grab and you're like, oh no. And they just get thrown around. If that doesn't happen, I think that we just see Gamrot get more and more tired and Turner turn it on. And I can't believe the value in this bet, guys, to be honest with you. And I'm glad you're on the same page as me because looking this up today, I was like, he's the underdog? I was like, fucking take my money. I threw my wallet at the computer. That didn't work. I had to enter the number, but it was worth a try. I was excited. Oh my God, I can't wait for this fight. I also think there's a strength of schedule issue here. Both guys have to prove that they can beat guys of each other's level. If Gamrot wins, that's such a tag. Like he has such a scalp. If Turner wins and the way he needs to win this fight, that's also like his stock skyrockets. And you can really see the theme of how they match made this. I mean, we've touched on it 17 times now. You can see the theme of how this card has really come together. Everybody's like, it's the volatile stock card. You know, it's like, it's a lot. We're going to know a lot after we watch all these fights. And this is a yet another example. I'm all over Jalen Turner.
Plus, he's coming off that huge loss to Dariush.
Everybody loses to that guy. Everybody loses to that guy. It's really weird. I don't know why he's good. I can't explain why he's good.
Just a well-rounded fighter, I think.
I know, but he keeps winning. Like you're just beating like really good guys. Like no one wants to fight him. Like nobody wants to fight him, and like it's tough for him to get he deserves a title shot. He hasn't gotten it yet.
Absolutely.
I'm not really sure why he's good. Oh yeah, God, I'm so fucking excited about Jalen Turner. The problem we're recording these on a Thursday too is I keep thinking it's tomorrow, but I'm going to put the show out on Friday and it will be tomorrow for the listeners. So lucky them and their magic little ears. All right. Anything else on Jalen Turner and Gamrot? I think it is pretty straightforward, but I'm looking forward to it.
Best value bet on the card.
I think so. I'd go full money line. Don't let anything else ruin it. Just bet it. Just bet it pure Jalen Turner. Jeff Neal and Shavkat Rakhmonov
might be the most exciting fight on the card.
Might be the least likely looking guy to be named Shavkat Rakhmonov. Like that is like a real bait and switch when you actually see it.
Where's he from? Tajikistan, right?
Yeah, and he's a master of the sport in combat sambo, and like they have fucking Buffer's gonna probably say that beforehand. He's freakish, and he's gonna beat Jeff Neal's ass. He's like 1,000,000-0. I think he's like 17-0. He's got some names under his belt already, and he's gonna do that thing that those guys do, and he's gonna beat up Jeff Neal. However, Jeff Neal's spry, and he's a lot of fun. I know you're a Jeff Neal fan, right, Ben?
Yeah, I love watching Jeff Neal. I like watching him use that elbow range and long kicks. He's a powerful.
You already sound disappointed. You're going to admit that he's going to lose by the end of this.
Oh yeah, he's going to get rough.
This is just one of those guys. You run into guys like this in your career. The sambo guys. I know you made this point earlier that you think it's boring. I think these guys are exciting.
Oh
I know.
Here comes the fucking Reddit admin to tell us.
I agree with Ben.
Fuck you guys. You guys, everybody agrees with you guys. I mean, I'm aware of it.
I agree.
I know why I'm biased against them. I'm self-aware enough to realize that I'm very clearly here as a Conor McGregor fanboy. And he hurt my friend. But and I admit it. You're correct.
Yeah, they've got a lot of the sambo guys have that very similar entrance to grappling because of the gi top and the shorts. They go for the single leg, easier to grab and to hold the gi from there. Or at least that's my take on it. It's purely anecdotal. Don't quote me on that.
I'm literally going to quote you on that.
I'm going to quote you.
Like this is a podcast. You're quoted.
Yeah, that's fair. But I think this guy ragdolls Jeff Neal. I think he's been exciting. He's been proving himself. Jeff has struggled to do so. The higher opponents that he's faced, he's lost to.
I just think if luck broke his way a little bit differently a couple of times, you know, I just feel like if there was just a couple of different little things that happened with Jeff Neal. He was on a razor's edge of becoming this version of him where he's going to get, like you said earlier, like, is it his fault that he's fighting Shavkat? kind of, it's
Well,
like,
you put yourself here, buds.
yeah. And it's like, but it's like it's too bad that Jeff Neal's is one of the carcasses to fight the lion on, on this card, because there's not a lot of close fights on this card. I don't know if you guys have picked up on a theme.
Well, Jeff did earn this fight. He earned this fight because there's no doubt that Shavkat is rising fast in one of the hardest divisions to fight in. Jeff Neal pieced up Vincenzo Luca, which was a wild fight that we both watched.
Yeah.
We tweeted back and forth. It's just unfortunate because I just don't see him pulling this out. And I love Jeff Neal as well. And he's talking a lot of shit leading up to this. Just feel like you don't want to talk shit to people that are from the stands of the world, the Kazakhstan, the stands. They're living a harder life than us. They just have more to go for here. And yeah, that's my gambling mind. I don't bet against these guys anymore. The Dagestans, I'm just not doing it anymore.
The Crimean Peninsula is off limits.
If you were owned by the USSR, I'm not really going to bet against you. Something special has to happen. That's where I am.
If you're part of the Russia land border that has kept them safe for thousands of years, if Napoleon can't beat them, I can't beat them.
If you were an Oblast, you're going to be a good fighter. That's my point.
I agree. I think it's psychotic to fight one of those fucking people. I think, of course, the best fighters in the world came from the steppes. You know, like, of course they traveled from the front. Rocky IV, they didn't lick that shit off the fucking grass. Like, Ivan Drago was scary because he was from Russia.
Yeah.
Let me just tell you from experience, fighting those guys is different. My fight against Elvis Gashi.
Was he one of those?
Yeah.
Wait, tell that story of when you first felt like his strength.
Oh man,
it's such a good story.
I start to get anxious just thinking about it. Elvis Gashi,
crazy. Imagine so.
So it's funny. Get signing on the line for that fight. I remember watching a quick video on him and just being like, "This guy is undefeated. Let's do it." And nothing crazy leading up to it. Got in the ring with him. He looked full, looked very strong. I came out. I immediately was aggressive. Hit him as hard as I could. Cracked him with the kick. Didn't affect him. He took it. No. He shook his head at me after I kicked him as hard as I could, and he didn't move. And then he threw a kick with blinding speed, and popped me, grabbed onto me, and it felt like a man fighting a boy. Really,
Jesus
man, he tossed me. But put me in the front seat with him again, and I'll whoop his ass.
Oh man, you know what? I think it's anecdotal, but I think to me it proves that I'm not going to fight one of them either. I think you guys are 100% correct. I don't think it's a good idea. And Jeff Neal, more power to you, but I think it reminds me of the scene in Mortal Kombat, the way you tell that story when like the first kickboxing champ fights Prince Goro, and he's like, "All right, here we go," and he's just like whap 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 whap, and then Goro like just like crushes his head.
What is up with those middling fighters in that movie and the overwhelming confidence? Like that guy to Goro,
he's still a monster.
He's still against the four-armed monster.
It's not like you were like, "Oh, look, a human just like me. I'm very confident. I'm going to beat him." It's like, no, that's a literal mythical being.
Yeah, did you know he existed before this point?
It's like, let's go, lace him up. Oh, that's good stuff. Speaking of mythical beings, Valentina Shevchenko is from the land of mythical beings. She's fighting Alexa Grasso, Mexican boxer who, I'm going to be honest, guys, I have this weird little tingle. I got this weird little tingle about how this fight's going to go. And I think I don't like betting against tough Mexican boxers. I have a block in my head about betting against if we're talking about areas of the world where good fighters come from, like when you're scrolling the Street Fighter character select menu, there's a reason why they were like, this is the Brazilian guy, this is the guy from America, and he's got like a crew cut. Mexican boxers are the best boxers. They're very tough. There's a lineage, there's a style. Alexa Grasso brings that. I think the champion has a quality challenger here. And Shevchenko was starting to get into that realm that Amanda Nunes got into and John Jones got into in the light heavyweight division, where They were just throwing like the 5th and 6th and 7th ranked guys at her. And I just think it's incredibly difficult in the men's division, the women's division, any weight. It's incredibly difficult to keep a streak alive at a championship level. There's the people that I've seen do it better than anyone else. When they kept going, they still ended up losing. Something starts to happen when you're a champion for that long. Kamaru Usman, Amanda Nunes, John Jones almost got by Dominic Reyes, who we know for sure is not as good of a fighter as John Jones and never will be, right? Yeah, I mean, people gave him that fight. Some people gave him that fight. Not me, but some people. I don't know about you guys. But Shevchenko's due, I think, is essentially what I'm saying. And I know she lost to Amanda. She couldn't like move up, whatever. That was a side mission. Alexa Grasso, if she faints, if she doesn't let Valentina lead the dance, if she decides the distance, I mean, she's plus 550. Valentina's minus 900. You could take a punt on this. I think there's some value here. Am I crazy?
No, I don't think you're crazy. I think Alexa Grasso comes from camp down in Mexico that specializes in training women boxers converting.
That's scary.
It absolutely is scary. I think to bet on Shevchenko here outright would be nuts. She's plus 800, which is a crazy number. And you're right. It just happens. People in the UFC, it's not like boxing where you maintain your belt for decades. You literally have your due coming. I do hate the fact that it's Valentina's one win away from the Ruby belt defense. That seems.
Has anyone done that?
People have defended the belt. It's just a legacy.
That many times?
For women, I don't know. But in the UFC, it's happened several times. But you know what? This is the kind of bet I would keep it away from any parlay. I would throw some money at Grasso just because we've watched it happen so many times.
Yeah.
We've watched champions.
It's a game plan situation. It just fucks with like Valentina. Like maybe she's overconfident or whatever. You know, like anything can happen.
I think Valentina is one of the best female fighters that has ever fought in the UFC.
Have you guys seen Chael Sonnen?
No, I was going to bring that up.
I was going to bring up Chael Sonnen
because he just keeps being like, she's a terrible person, and I really think it'd be a good idea if she just admitted that to the world, and she wouldn't be tugging the curtain for John Jones on this card. And I'm like, I mean, that guy's a terrible person. He admits it, but man, that's been funny this week.
Chael Sonnen,
great. He
known money launderer, apparently the new star of Child's Play on Shudder.
No, he's a little man that lives in my phone that makes me laugh sometimes. That's all he is.
Look at his face. It's outrageous.
The shit he's been saying about John Jones this week, he's like, I know your secret. Like when they first started fighting, like it's great.
He looks like Joan Rivers.
That's funny though. Yeah, but you saw that? He was like, where do you think this is coming from?
I love listening to Chael. I think that guy's hilarious. He really.
Where do you think he's getting this information that Valentina? It's so random. It's like Valentina Shevchenko is actually a terrible person.
I mean, it's so pointed and aggressive,
and it's too specific to be wrong.
Yeah. So he saw something, or he got left on red, or something like that, because he is pissed at her.
Yeah, he's mad.
But I'm going to go against you guys here. I think the bullet takes this one. I think if you look at Grasso, her wins are the majority decisions. For her to come in and beat somebody like Shevchenko, I think she would have to knock her out or put her in danger in some way, which I don't think she's capable of doing. Sure, talented boxer, on and on. There's a difference in distance control when you're fighting somebody like Shevchenko, whose kicks are all over the place, who's in and out so quick, like lightning. I think the bullet takes this one and handily.
Yeah, you're probably right. That was the thing I was trying to talk myself into something because there's not a ton of value on this card, to be honest with you. I think you can win a lot of favorite based parlays. But there is, I don't know, there's like a lot of banana skins in the favorites too. Like there's a lot of stuff that could happen. Speaking of, and I think this is a good transition to the last few minutes we have here to talk about the main event. I know it's been talked to death by the entire MMA media, but I do want to get your guys' perspective on it. The banana skin here potentially obviously being John Jones is moving up a weight class. He hasn't fought in quite some time. Kind of because of the move up the weight class, but it was weird. I mean, there was weird stuff going on behind the scenes. I'm not sure what. I personally, if I had to guess, if I had to throw a dart at a board to why, I think it's because he had no interest in fighting Francis Ngannou, and I don't fucking blame him. I think Francis Ngannou would have murdered him to be 100% honest with you. It's just like the size is insane. But I think he's still John Jones. I'm not taking anything away from him in that sense. Ngannou was an indomitable heavyweight champion to me. Like he just encapsulated everything a heavyweight champion should be in a combat sport. When a hole was opened up in his game by Stipe Miocic with his wrestling, he just like went and just like out athleticed that problem. Like he just figured it out because he's the strongest man in the world. Right. And I think that, I mean, yeah, if he goes and boxes Tyson Fury, he's gonna get a fucking head knocked off him. Like that's just ridiculous. It's not the same sport. It's fucking stupid. But John Jones, I just don't think John Jones would have been able to John Jones him. That being said, Cyril Gane, whatever. People are saying it a lot. I mean, John might be saying it weird just to be a dick.
Cyril Gane.
But he's been like sharing his notes on what he's seen in the tape. Like he's being very like, oh my God, he's so bad. He's like, I'm going to absolutely fucking annihilate him. Like he's got this like fancy footwork. Like I saw what Francis did to him. He's like, I'm going to like just tire him out and then I'm going to pick him apart. That's what I'm going to do. This is what the tape says. I believe him. I really genuinely believe him. I think that this is an absolute no-brainer. Don't overthink it. It's still John Jones, and he's going to go through him. Ben, you seem reticent to agree.
This is a tough one. I think I think John Jones is most likely going to take it.
If he looks like what we think John Jones at heavyweight should look like.
Yeah, if he's juiced up, comes in like he loves to be on every sort of synthetic under the sun. I think he's going to win and probably handily. He's one of the best, if not the best fighter that we've ever seen. That being said, John excels against people he has a reach advantage on and size on, which I don't
even have size on DC necessarily, right? I mean, it's not.
In a way, though, he's so big. He was like the tarantula in there.
Yeah.
Big, long, wiry, strong guy. Against someone like Cyril Gane, I don't know if he has all the tools to beat him, but I think he has enough tools to make this a difficult fight. What Cyril does, which I really like, is he punches when you're punching because he's that skilled of a striker. He gets his head off the center line and throws at you, which interrupts your rhythm. I think John doesn't like getting hit. He's this guy who just walks through people.
So Ben, I wanted to ask you this. I don't mean to interrupt you, but because there's a fascinating thing that happens in this fight.
Why did you do it?
You probably have a perspective on where John Jones loves to get people against the cage and hand fight with them to get his elbows in there, to get his hooks up into people's faces. What do you think Cyril Gane, being a Muay Thai fighter, do you think he has that same approach here when we're talking about different weight, different sizes? They're matched pretty equally here. Do you think the hand fighting is a real approach for him against Gane?
I think he's going to use it because it opens up the eye poke, John's favorite technique. I think
there's nothing you can do about this. Why doesn't anyone just learn to go like this, like in the movie?
Give him the Three Stooges and move on. I think. I think we see John try to implement that because why wouldn't he? Why would he change anything he's done when he's been so successful? He comes out and he tries to get you up against the cage, tries to control the range. Pushes up, pokes you in the eye, gets it. But I think
Ben is no fan of John Jones. If home can't tell.
It's not a fan of anyone that's been popped for PEDs. That's a fact.
Yeah. Or hit a pregnant woman and didn't check on her. You know, all these beat the absolute hell out of his wife.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
John Jones is no great role model. He's no great role model. Also, I didn't love the glamour pics from his physique pics today in the outfits, in the Venom outfits. People were like, "Oh yeah, the Venom outfits look good on John Jones," and then I pulled it up. I was like,
"He looks like 205 DC."
He did look a little bit like 205 DC. Actually, yeah. I mean, DC looked great at 205. That was difficult for him. Full circle from the pilot, Morty. I think, I mean, that's funny that you say that because like I can see the meme already if he gets knocked out. I'm just like 205 DC and it's like, this is John's, like the jokes are there. They're built in. Like this is John's like fall from grace arc as he has to go through what he put DC through because since like we had that conversation about Cody Garbrandt, like that was the most depressing loss for like how you could tell the guy was going to take it. before Cody Garbrandt came along. DC is thrilled that Cody Garbrandt came along because like DC like cried in the middle of the octagon. It was like, for me, it's like, look, I don't know what it's like to push myself to that degree, to like try that hard at something and like come up short. I get it. But also like, don't cry at school, dude. Like everyone's going to see and everyone's going to make fun of you.
Save that for the ride home.
Like,
My
seriously,
God.
like it's okay to cry, but like, please just do it in the fucking car because you're making us all look terrible, right?
I have been backstage at fights too many times watching men openly weep after an absolute ass.
Just get out of the cage first. Though.
Get in the van and go home and say, dude, keep your chest up, put your shoulders up, get to the car.
It was bad. It was bad. He cried. He cried, and then John kissed him on the top of the head.
Yeah, which just made it so much worse.
Oh my God.
So Glenn, let me ask you this, because as a Muay Thai fighter, and I know you are an amazing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu artist, you've got John Jones, where if he's going to get in trouble in this fight, obviously he's going to drag Cyril down to the ground.
I think he's going to start like that. I think, why not? Why wouldn't you? You saw what Francis did to him. Like, just go in and win.
I think Bones is too cocky for that. I think he's going to try and stand up and show.
Call him Bones. Nobody calls him Bones.
I'm 100% with Matt on that one. I think John tries to feel him out on the feet and tries to poke him in the eye.
That's not smart. That's not the smart game plan. Just like, dude,
it's not the smart game plan. You're absolutely right. I just think you're talking about John, who thinks he is the best of all time. And I think he wants to remind people who's in there. But I think Cyril Gane on the ground with John Jones is a world of trouble.
John has been through God's toughest tests, and I think we see him try to walk through Cyril Gane again and test himself, show everybody that who he is, why he is who he is.
He's not going to be able to strike him at distance though, and if Cyril,
he's got slight reach.
I don't know. I just feel like if I'm fighting Cyril Gane, I'm John Jones, and I have that skill set, it's like he's gonna give me his leg really early. Like I'm just gonna wait for that to happen. He's gonna hand me his leg, and then I'm just fucking take him down. He's one of the best wrestlers the UFC's ever seen.
But he is literally the best fighter. He's probably the most dangerous man on the planet, right?
Yeah, but he took down Daniel Cormier. Like he took down Daniel Cormier because the smart game plan there was to do a thing that Daniel Cormier never would in a million years would have expected him to do.
You're right.
Just like attack him offensively with his wrestling.
But he also stood with Gustafsson. He's standing submitted Lyoto Machida. We're talking about the best fighter maybe of all time. I feel like even though he's had his time off, that's still inherent. It's not like he was trained to be the best fighter.
But you're talking about
born the best fighter.
We're all referencing highlights from 10 years ago. Like we're all talking about highlights from 10. I don't necessarily think he's lost like a ton, but like for me, he's definitely at an age where I don't care what sport it is, like athletically, he has to start making some adjustments, and he's not an idiot. Like he really has a high fight IQ. And I just think like, I have faith in the idea. I mean, every fight starts standing up, but I just have faith in the idea that he's going to go in there and he's going to win and he's not going to take any unnecessary risks. And I think that that's always been his game, is he doesn't take unnecessary risks. I think that like Gustafsson, I believe him that he like didn't train for that fight. I genuinely believe him when he says that.
Didn't train for that fight.
Because when they fought the second time, I was like, oh, okay. Maybe he didn't train for the first time then.
Cormier, he was blowing coke the night before.
Yeah. I mean, he's a fucking beast. Don't get me wrong. He's
actually the best fighter on the planet. I think he's going to handle Cyril. I just don't. After watching Gane lose how he did to Ngannou, I just don't see him being able to handle John Jones.
Do you agree that he's the consensus best fighter ever? Or does that whole steroids thing just say like there's an asterisk?
Does nothing to me. He's the baddest motherfucker on the planet to me. Michael Jordan, Tiger Woods, Tom Brady, John Jones.
Come on, get out of here. Get out of here with that.
That's where I'm at.
He's arguable in his own sport. You could make the case for George St. Pierre right now. You could make it right now. You could make it for fucking Mighty Mouse right now. Like people can make these cases. You just referenced a bunch of guys where there's no case. There's no case. You sound silly if you're saying that fucking that if Tiger Woods isn't the best fucking golfer of all time or Tom Brady isn't the best fucking football player of all time. You sound silly. If you sit here and try to sell me on the idea that George St. Pierre is a better fighter all time, consensus best ever than John Jones, you're not going to sound silly. There's a case to be made. There's a full blown case to be made, and there's this whole pound for pound argument too, which is like the reason why I'm not saying I agree with you. I do think it is John. And the reason I think it's John is because I think that the best fighter is a heavyweight. And I think it might be a fucking silly thing to think. It might be old school thinking, but like I grew up watching boxing. And for me, pound for pound, like whatever, the heavyweight's gonna beat your ass. That's just like the fucking facts. Like you need a tip
like,
scale for you to like
pound for
like
pound.
John,
Let me watch Mike Tyson fight Floyd Mayweather. Like, get out of my face.
Yeah, the whole
Well,
that
my
pound for
money
pound thing,
is
just like
John Jones.
the baddest man on the planet. There's a reason why it's called that. And it's because you're the heavyweight champion of the world. That's the best thing to be. Is the best thing to be on the planet of Earth in our currently structured society of any sport or achievement or anything. Presidents, I don't give a shit. If you're the heavyweight champion of the world, you have the best life. You have the best life. People, I have never seen people be nicer to people who fight professionally. And when you're the best guy at that, no one is ever going to be mean to you. And I think it's genuine. I think people genuinely treat fighters like that. We lionize them in a society. It's not like the service industry situation you have with other celebrities where it's like, oh, like they're the person supplying the money in the situation. I got to be like nice to them. It's like people genuinely respect fighters. And when you're the heavyweight champion of the world, that's actually just hit me what John Jones is about to do to his legacy. Light heavyweight. Like he became basically the GOAT of the sport at light heavyweight. And now he's going to go fight and be the heavyweight champion of the world. Yes. I mean, dude, actually, you're right. You know what? I talked myself into it. I came full circle on my own. You're right. He actually is the best one. If he wins this fight and he becomes the heavyweight champion of the world, the debate actually is over. It goes Conor McGregor, then him. So I really appreciate you guys coming on. That was a ton of fun talking through this card. Just a quick disclaimer to everybody at home. We are not professionals in the gambling department, and we lose as much as we win. So if you lose any money on anything we've said to you, these are informed opinions, but in the octagon, anything can happen. So
just for clarification, 2 UFC fight nights in a row. 2 fight nights ago, I went 8-1. Last fight night, I went 1-9. So you are really rolling dice.
So Matt's due. Matt's due another good weekend. I'm on a heater, but only on Sundays. Saturdays, I don't know. So, for myself, DK Sizzle, Dave Clark, for Benjamin Peak, providing expertise on the inside baseball and the technical stuff. And for my fellow degenerate gambler, Matt Wilcox, this has been Missing the Points. Check my oil. Have fun watching the fights, everybody.